I'm going to keep the microphones on if you listen to what we were talking about. Right, gentlemen, back. We're here with Matthew Laza, not in Gaza, with Steven Woolfe, former MEP. It is the political spa on Tuesday. We've talked about energy bills. We've talked about working from home. One of the big binds, Steven, we'll start with you this bit, about Labour in 7 weeks is you've given doctors 22%. You've given... I mean, some train drivers are now on 81 grand a week for a 4-day week. I'm sure there are one or two who are brilliant. I've just got to add that, and I'm not going into why. But... what does that say to nurses on 6% and all these people? That says, to me, pure socialism, everybody who is a union, the paymasters of the Labour Party, are going to come at this government for a pay rise. Now, there's no money. Now, the only way you're going to do that unless you print money is raise taxes. But they never said that. We all knew, but nobody said that.
We all knew it's going to happen. We're going to see it on capital gains tax. We're going to see it on inheritance tax. If they're going to do the pensioners, if they're going to do schools with extra VAT, they're going to go after anybody that's got any cash. And the biggest cash pile that we've got in this country is land, our houses. And I wouldn't be surprised, argue with me if you want, but over the course of these 5 years, I think Rachel Reeves is going to start looking at our primary home and whether we're still going to be able to have that free of capital gains.
It will stay. Honestly, it'll be too. They won't.
There's so many rumours going on.
I know, but they won't happen.
Is it Darren Smith who talked about it already? That there is a need to just wipe out the capital because that's all we've got. We're not hitting the large corporations in the big way, most of them American because they'll leave. You're going to try and tax us out of existence in this country from having any aspirations to save or prepare for our pensions. And
Matt?
So no, absolutely. The family home is safe. It won't be subject to capital gains tax. I do think, though, that there will be an equalisation of capital gains tax, which doesn't apply to the family home is excluded. Because at the moment, capital gains tax is lower in most instances than income tax, which means that, it should be taxed fairly the same as income. So if you make your money from selling assets...
Just explain to people what capital gains tax is.
So it's when you buy or sell assets, anything from shares, second homes, property if you deal in property, etc. And it is levied at a lower rate than income tax. So, effectively some people's income derives from, buying and selling assets.
And the argument on the right would be, I've paid 40% already on my earnings to buy that asset, and now you're going to... Is that on profit or just... Is it only
no, it's only on profit. It's on the profits. It's on profits
when you buy it in your shares. But if you've got pensions, over the course of your lifetime, your pension is accruing profit. Is it the plan to actually take capital gains tax out of your pensions in one way or another?
He says no.
If you really want to go for it, why don't you go for some of the tax loops that are out there for the biggest funders of the Labour Party, the property companies? Why don't you remove VAT from them at the beginning when they have their housing developments, because that's a huge profit for them that they work on. If you really want to look at land, why don't you just tax the foreign companies and the foreign pension funds that are buying vast tracts of our land?
I think closing loopholes
rather than the individuals who are born here.
I don't know why people who invest billions in this country are not taxed, who are far... I think... Listen, this isn't even anti-Labour. The Tories, let's be perfectly honest, let's look straight in the mirror. I mean, God, I've said it many times, it was brought up the Tories were low taxation, good law and order and a strong military. The highest taxation in 70 years. They've got absolutely zilch to argue. But I do think there will be a point. And I said this last week, and just actually an interesting point for both of you. I understand why Starmer came out like a ton of bricks on those far-right thugs. Filmed them being arrested, got them tried and were in prison where there were no spaces within 5 minutes. But I do think he would seriously underestimate the frustration in this country amongst working men and women, north and south, who believe there are many things wrong, immigration, the finances, public sector. I had this amazing call last week. I might have said it to you last week. It was a nurse from Wales, and she said, I'm 48. I hate the NHS. I worked on my... People are taking advantage. There's waste. I'm sorry. I pay all my taxes. I see these people coming over here. I am not... but she said, if I now say anything, I'm a far-right thug. I think the Labour Party needs to be aware that there is mass dissatisfaction. Not necessarily with the Labour Party
because
after 7 weeks, with the way they see this goddamn country going.
But I think I think what Keir's got to do in his conference speech, which is now a month away, is he's got to tap into the anger that saw him elected, because it was that anger with the state of Britain, the nothing seems to work, whether it's the Post or whatever. But so he's got to you couldn't do it during the riots themselves because you didn't want to be seen to be pandering to those who were throwing things on the streets, but you do want to acknowledge a much wider discontent about various issues.
But there's a discontent with politics because of the Labour Party as well, not just the Conservative Party. They've been a failure in terms of preventing crime, supporting the military, in lowering taxes for people, controlling immigration. We know that they've failed there, and the Labour Party won't succeed in that. You managed to succeed at the poll not because you were really successful in getting all the people who didn't like the Conservatives to vote for you. You got your base, lower votes. All you got was people switching off. I'm going to reform because I've had enough, or I'm not voting whatsoever.
What they did was they got their vote, and every day that goes past, I mean, they must have laughed because somebody said to me yesterday, I think it's very true, you win an election by gathering together a group of people who are really disillusioned and telling them what's wrong with their lives and who's to blame. You don't necessarily have to put anything in place. A couple of light-hearted ones to finish. 10 bins per household, too much to ask in quest to recycle more. Your lot are into all this recycling.
Well, this is a Lib Dem, not a Labour council. I want to point that out, which is that I think it's actually 11 in the Cotswolds.
11 bins?
I mean, you have big houses in most of the... I mean, clearly it's nonsense. 11 bins is nonsense. To encourage people to recycle, you need to keep it simple. And 11 bins ain't simple.
I take great
delight. One bin in your backyard and set fire to the lot. Come on.
Absolutely.
Quicker and easier. And
all that
cheaper.
Smoke across the way, it's ruined people's lives. And finally, what do you think of generation... Is it Z or Z? What am I supposed to say?
Z, we're English, we're not American.
All right, OK, cool, blimey.
Sorry.
I didn't even know where generational was.
So this is people aged 12 to 20... He's got a bit right-wing there, Matthew Laza. It's a bit shocking.
I'm very pro-British.
Yeah, we're bloody British. What are you talking about?
I'm a progressive patriot.
Yes, OK, so 12 to 27, right?
Yeah.
This sums it up.
I know some of them.
Jez, I'm 59 and I feel your pain. My daughter is 24 and we clash on everything. I love her to death, but you're right. I helped to get her first car. She passed the test and I had to drive a new car home because she was worried. Phil in Portsmouth. This is the story today. The dads who are looking to make a few quid have become renter dads, paid £50 an hour to help a generation, Z, who, yes, can tell you how to solve the Middle Eastern crisis, who joined Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion and seem to like bloody Stonehenge, but can't, in their brains, work out how to buy their first car. Does that not sum up absolutely Steven Woolfe generation Z? Come on!
Oh, I'm loving that. My daughter is 12 and she is definitely not of this generation Z already. She can't wait. When Eurovision was on and that abysmal character was dancing in virtually nothing, all her friends were on the phone saying, "Isn't he a disgrace and disgusting? I have hope." If she is
this is generation A, because we have to go back to A now. We've got to Z.
She's there. She's brilliant on that. She's brilliant.
Well, my dad couldn't change a plug. Neither of my parents could have changed a plug for toffee. So,
well, I'll give you a hand then. I'll show you.
I don't have my parents are not with us anymore. So maybe I'll have to hire, some. I need to find some. Was it Oscar Wilde said to lose one pair is a fortune, whatever it was.
Well, it's true. Do you know what I'm saying? Thinking
I'm going to offer myself out for 50 quid.
My dad was crap. This is what my dad said. Who's no longer here. He used to go, the War Office can't do this, and neither can I. I'm going to call a man. That's what he used to say.
I love that.
I called my mother the War Office.
I thought you meant the War Office.
No. He used to go, how is it in the kitchen with the War Office? Which seems all right. I might venture in for a whiskey.
Did you make your mum mow the lawn?
No.
Did you have a man to do that?
Sorry?
Did you have a man to do that?
Why did people like you? We had two men. Right, I've got to move on. Of course, lines were very important. No, I'm joking. Listen, gentlemen, thank you.
Brilliant.
Matthew Laza, not from Gaza, and the amazing Steven Woolfe. Thank you very much indeed. That was... what was it? I'm joking. Battle of the whatever, yeah. Anyway, 12 minutes to 6. We're coming back in 3. Thanks for tuning in.